Live from the Carl Chevrolet Studios in West Des Moines, this is Iowa Live.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Man, are we excited to see this guy in person here. Everybody is familiar with the Iowa Almanac, and Professor Jeff Stein is in town today, so we requested that he stop by to say hi. Great to see you, man.
You know, it has been so long, I can't even remember the last time, but standing here next to you behind the desk in these legendary studios, perfect way to get through the noon hour.
And you have been here before, years ago. For those people that may not remember, Professor Stein was here as part of Local 5 at WOI.
Yeah, we did election night for about 10 years, leading up to 2000, sometimes in this very studio.
How about that?
Always a lot of fun.
Now, the reason that Professor Stein is here is because he is in central Iowa making appearances today, Steinapalooza. We dubbed it a couple weeks ago. But tell everybody where you're going to be and what you're going to be talking about.
Well, we're doing two different presentations today. At 2 o'clock at the Indianola Activity Center, we'll be telling stories in person from the Iowa Almanac.
Right. People love the Iowa Almanac.
It's a lot of fun because people will suggest different segments. If, you know, have you ever done a story on this, etc. So we have a real fun time. And then later on tonight at 6, we'll be at the Bondurant Public Library with a whole different presentation on the history of radio and television in Iowa, tied to the book that I wrote on the topic, Making Waves, the People and Places of Iowa Broadcasting.
Yeah, there's the Making Waves book in front of us right now, and this is really a big hit. Now, let's talk about the Iowa Almanac first. Remind people of what the Iowa Almanac is all about.
It is a radio program that I came up with about 9 years ago. We do a different This Day in Iowa History every weekday of the year. We've now done more than 400 different stories, and so I pull some of my favorites because we only have a couple of minutes on the radio. And some of the stories need a little more time, so I get to, in the in-person conversations like today in Indianola, we have a chance to tell some more of the details and get a little more in-depth, which is a lot of fun, plus the interaction with the audience.
So that's going to be at 2 o'clock in Indianola at the Indianola Activity Center. So if you have a chance, swing over there. And the cost to get in?
Absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
It is well worth the price.
And then later on this afternoon, you're going to be in Bondurant. Tell everybody where you're going to be there.
All right, that's at the Public Library in Bondurant, 6 o'clock. And again, same thing, free and open to the public, and we've got some old-time audio and video clips that we play, and so it's also a lot of fun for folks.
That is great. So going out there, you'll be able to hear some more of the stories from the book, Making Waves, which is the history of media and broadcasting in the state of Iowa, which is really cool. But since we have you here, how about an edition of the Iowa Almanac live in studio?
It seems like a waste to not do it. Right?
So let's get right to it, shall we? Now, we've talked about motion pictures before, Professor Stein, and I'm just going to turn it over to you. Tell us what today's edition is all about.
All right, so let's go back, Lou, to 1977, and on February 25th of 1977, folks in Dubuque learned that they'd have some company in that coming summer. A movie crew was going to produce a film with an $8 million budget. Now, that was a pretty major project for United Artists that year. The movie was to be called F.I.S.T. And as you can see there, Sylvester Stallone was one of the stars. F.I.S.T. stood for Federation of Interstate Truckers. It was a fictional union. And Stallone played Johnny Kovac, who was a Cleveland warehouse worker who became involved with the union, made his way to the top. And it was really key because Stallone was just coming off the success in his breakthrough movie, Rocky.
There you go. So that was really cool. So no, the movie was not really set in this town, was it? This was someplace else.
It was supposed to be in Cleveland, but they filmed it in Dubuque for a very special reason. All right, this was supposed to be 1930s Cleveland. Well, if you went to Cleveland in the 1970s, you had a whole bunch of TV antennas. Well, Dubuque, being a very hilly city, they early on were adopters of cable television.
Wow.
So you could go to Dubuque and not see antennas, and that's what was so cool about it. Plus, they had a number of places like the Dubuque Star Brewery, Sacred Heart Church, etc. Stallone, by the way, got $500,000. $350,000 for appearing on screen. He even got $150,000 for tweaking the script.
How about that? But there's a unique twist that's now part of the city's history.
Every city has a city directory, right? Well, the year after filming, if you opened up the Dubuque City Directory, you would find John and Anna Kovac listed. They were the fictional characters. it had them living at the address of the duplex that was in the film.
That is awesome.
And we're talking about it today because this was the premiere. It premiered in Dubuque 45 years ago today, the movie F.I.S.T.
How about that? You'll learn that and many other things later on today over in Indianola as Professor Jeff Stein talks about the Iowa Almanac at the Indianola Activity Center. So thank you so much for coming over again. And if people want to get more info, where can they go?
IowaAlmanac.com as always.
That's perfect. Thank you for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Maybe we'll see you at one of Jeff Stein's appearances later today.